Hello and welcome. My name is Kevin. This is Do It for Brews. Today we're showing you some tips and tricks on how to reform the Tengri Faith. For this guide, we will start in 1066 and probably use the Kakas Ahalo here for our example as requested by one of my subscribers. Here's a quick outline of what we're going to cover here. First, it's a recap on the best ways to get piety as a Tengri. Then we will go into the different holy sites and talk about which ones you should target, and finally we'll put a nice little bow on everything by going over the playthrough I did for this. First, let's look at the tenets of the faith and see what piety can be derived from them. Esotericism, which gives 1 piety per month for being a wise man, mystic, or a miracle worker, and gives a higher likelihood of getting the wise man trait when your child is focused on learning lifestyle. Ancestor worship, what makes it so that you have a greater chance of becoming a wise man after a pilgrimage. Warmongering is warmongering, gives you more CVs and can piss off your vassals when you're too long at peace. Now let's talk about how great the wise man trait can be. It gives you more learning and more piety, but it also allows you to hold mystical communion, which costs 100 piety to make it happen, but gives you some stat boosts, and it also helps you get 300 learning lifestyle points, which can be very nice when you're trying to move through your lifestyle skill tree. Now let's move on to general piety production. Unfortunately, executions don't give piety, so you can't just be lobbing off heads for the gods. Pilgrimages are one of the better ways to get piety. The rule of thumb is the longer and more costly, the more piety you'll get at the end. With the extremely long one, you're able to get 875 piety. Another helpful way to get piety is to fight other people of different faiths. As a tribal Tengri, you can raid, which allows you to murder unsuspecting AI. I like to bait them by putting a much weaker force in their territory so that they raise their forces and come contest it. However, once they locked in, I have another army just waiting to swoop in and help destroy them. Once you're serious about forming your own Tengri faith, you should switch your character to the learning lifestyle. I would suggest theology focus because it was going to give you 1 piety a month. You can also do the other 2 focuses. They're just not as efficient at producing piety. You'll be putting your points in the theologian skill tree, making your way down to the prophet skill, which gives you 1% piety per night, which is nice, but you're really after the faith creation and reform costs minus 50%. You can still reform your faith without this skill, but it requires you to farm more piety. Next, switch your spouse to patronage. This will add half of their skill to your skill. If your spouse isn't very learned, you might want to consider dropping them for a smarter person. Every point of learning is 0.1 piety, so if you have 7 learning, it's 0.7 monthly piety. If you have 15 piety, it's 1.5 piety a month. Each faith has 5 holy sites. You only need 3 to reform your own faith. For Tengri, the counties that have them are as follows: Karakorum, Kayalik, Kerik, Tavanbogt, Pereslav. If you're in the east, Karakorum, Katalik, and Tavabogt are your best bet. If you're in the west, you're a sick pup and should seek medical attention because you'll have to fight the Byzantines for Kerik and Pereslav, and then still cross half the map for Kayalik. You should look at reforming your faith so that you can have an idea of how much piety you'll need. Depending on what you choose from tenets and doctrines, the piety cost varies wildly. Once you have the 3 holy sites on a pile of piety, it's time for you to click that reform faith button. From there, it's just up to you to spread it far and wide. As stated above, I use the Kakas Halo to reform the Tengri faith. They're a middling duchy right next to the Great Liao. The best thing you can do is start by either increasing your stewardship or by granting some of the land to a vassal because you start with 7 counties. Next, I raided and tried to produce some children to cement a couple of alliances. Once I was a distinguished man with a handful of alliances, I decided to subjugate the Great Liao. This war can take a while, so I suggest trying to get as many allies as possible so that they can get it done quicker. Once I was the Khan of Liao and I had stabilized the country, I moved my capital to the steppe and converted to a Mongol culture. Then it came down to just getting enough prestige through wars and events to become exalted, and I took the Great Khan decision and gained a massive horde. 2 wars later, and we had secured all 3 holy sites. As for tenants, I kept warmongering and esotericism, added reincarnations for the extra fun. Doctrines I kept male-dominated and added lay clergy and fundamentalism. Also made myself head of the faith because I'm Tengri's main guy. In conclusion, some of the best way to gain piety is through pilgrimages and fighting heathens. The 5 holiest sites are all over the place, so it really depends on where you are, but if you start in the east, you're going to have a much easier experience. Finally, you have the opportunity to become the Great Khan, so you should probably take full advantage of that. That's a wrap for today. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Let me know what other faiths I should cover, and don't forget to have a good rest of your day.